It was happening in the money from 1971. Once we went off the gold standard, the money was losing 7% of its value a year from 1971, which means that centralized authorities were stealing 7% of everything you had from you every year since 1971. But I didn't understand it. My family didn't understand it. And I think it's pretty obvious now, especially in the past 20 years, you've seen regulatory encroachment in so many areas of business for so many different reasons that is kind of unprecedented in the history of America. But it was always there. So I would say whatever we thought was a problem somewhere else has arrived to be a problem here. If you understand money as economic energy and the currency is the fluid through which the energy moves in order to run the machines of the economy, then destroying the money is the same as opening up one of your arteries and bleeding you to death. The subtle thing, of course, is that if you keep sucking 7% of the value or 10% of the value out of the currency every year, the half-life of the money becomes 7 or 10 years. And if the half-life of the money becomes 10 years, you cut it in half 10 times in a century. If you don't suck the energy out of the currency, the half-life of the money is forever. And so what we think of as death or a natural life cycle, like it's natural for things to die, it really isn't. You could live forever. Your economic entities could live forever if there wasn't a parasite that's actually sucking the energy out of them, killing them. So the debasing of the money is kind of like artificially accelerating the destruction of the entire economy. So therefore, there's no point in striving for anything great 100 years out or 500 years out or 50 years out if the useful life of the economic energy is 7 years. And it's kind of like your kid is an Olympic athlete and they're about to run for the gold medal, and I just show up and I just let you know that I'm going to bleed them a pint of blood every day for the next 7 days before their race to help them out, and then you realize that they have zero chance of winning and there's no point in competing. So if we don't have good money, then every other aspiration, it's going to result in failure because you're going to lose. It doesn't really matter what you do. So all the other things we talk about the economy become second order. If the money is broken, you can guarantee that everything else will be broken in the system until you fix the money. My story is I was a tech enthusiast. I wrote The Mobile Wave and published in 2012. So my day job kept me busy in the software business, but my evening avocation was looking at all different types of technology. And my view of Bitcoin from 2012 on to 2020 was cool, scary, dangerous, threatening, maybe revolutionary stuff, but I couldn't be bothered with it. And I liked Apple stock better, right? Or I liked Facebook better. I thought Google maybe was better and I didn't really need it. I went about my day job, which is running MicroStrategy, and my investment, in my copious free time was speculating in stock. And it wasn't until the world came to a grinding halt in March of 2020 that all of a sudden I had a problem. My faith in the system, the overall economic and political system, was broken, and my faith in the money was broken. And now this became $1 billion problem, and I rediscovered Bitcoin once I had a gun to my head. And then I realized it isn't just an interesting, scary, random technology, but maybe it's the solution to the world's problems. And that's what I believe today. I was oblivious to the encroaching authoritarian regulation and centralized control. I legitimately didn't really understand money or inflation until the year 2020.
You understand it now.
Yeah, I don't consider myself to be stupid, right? And objectively, I was reasonably successful as an academic at MIT. I was the top of my class, and I was first in my class in high school, and I was reasonably successful in business. I took company public, and I made a ton of money as an investor. So with all my success, I really just had a massive blind spot toward money and inflation. And the issue there is half of the economy is your productivity from what you do, measured on your P&L. And the other half of your economy is your wealth, which is how you store your productivity over time in the bank, and that's in the currency. So I would say you could build a multi-billion-dollar company, but if someone is elected that then triples the money supply, they steal 2/3 of all your labor for the last 30 years, and they do it in about a week. If someone can, in essence, steal everything you've done and everything you're ever going to do with the click of a button, then you can't win by playing that game. We know we can't win as long as we hold the currency of corrupt government. So the only way to win is to create incorruptible currency. And of course, the only way to make an incorruptible or immortal currency is to get the people out of the way. Back then, I thought, well, it's cautionary tale and it's allegorical and it's like Animal Farm and 1984, right? All these things that might happen to us. And today I would say, yeah, I guess it all happened, right? The only thing you could own is your own memories or your own ideas. Everything else you don't own, you rent. Nothing on this earth that you think you own, do you own, except at the pleasure of someone more powerful than you. January 3rd, 2009 is the singularity where for the first time in the history of the human race, you have property rights. And you have property rights because we come back to my first principle. The only thing you own are your memories. To the extent that your money is reflected in your memory, no one can take it from you. So Bitcoin was this invention whereby you could memorize a private key. You could put any amount of money in your head to the extent that the network has that wealth in it, and no one can take it from you or coerce it out of you. I can shoot you and take all your stuff right now, all your property, if it isn't Bitcoin based on private keys. If I don't have property rights, I don't have right to my life force and my energy. I don't have the right to anything I've done in the past economically, nor do I have the right to do anything in the future. Bitcoin is a technology to convey property rights via the technology of encryption and cryptography. You finally can, for the first time, take economic energy with you to the grave. You sell all your stuff, sell your gold, sell your silver, sell your Apple stock, and buy Bitcoin, put it in your head, and now you actually own something economically. So we can now modify that phrase from you only own your memories to the only thing you can own is your memories and your Bitcoin. And what we are seeing is property rights come to life. You have property rights until someone takes them away from you. Bitcoin gives perfected property rights without prejudice to everybody on the globe, regardless of their economic circumstances. If you have a $50 Android phone, you have the same perfected property rights that Bill Gates has. And it puts it beyond the corrupting influence of a counterparty. And if you think about what makes the universe work, it's the fact that gravity is applied universally to everyone, everywhere, at all times, and nobody can cheat. Adapt to the universe. You can't bend the universe. You can say, by pain of law, shut down all your Bitcoin mining in the entire country. That happened about a year ago in China. They shut down half the network, had no impact. You could shut it down in any state, in any country. You can't kill it because it doesn't have a head. Therefore, it does have this characteristic of incorruptibility. You could hold the gun to my head and tell me to change Bitcoin or you blow my head off. I can't change it. So the price that was paid by Satoshi to create something that was virtuous and uncorrupted and uncorruptible was, what do you get if you mine Bitcoin? You get more Bitcoin. What's that worth? Well, it's worth nothing initially until people decide that having something which is incorruptible and immortal and orthogonal to the entire corrupt $500 trillion financial system is something they might want to join in on. And the risk he took was, well, maybe people won't want to join. Maybe people won't believe in freedom and sovereignty and truth and self-determination through cryptography, but maybe they will. Today, it's alive and it's something. And with Bitcoin, this idea of ownership is knowing something is owning something. If I know my private keys and in my private keys is all my wealth, as long as I know it, I have it, You can't have it. There's no way to cheat it. You can't cheat the system, and no one can cheat you with force. And there's something natural about that.